Hello, everyone. Joining us for our live AMA today with Kava Labs. I'm the manager of the and today. Kava Labs is financial services and remotely accessible and world. Kava Blockchain is a digital platform designed to provide secure and reliable experience for accessing
everything. We ended up doing a lot of we built to swap crypto kind of growing for our company. We build a which focus on getting in crypto.
Yourself.
Where value was this role and make that lending and services diverse working with actually Yeah.
Can hear you. Or what? Sure. Hear me? Hi. I am testing to see if the sound is working. Audience, if you can hear me, maybe give a thumbs up. Anyone? Oh, great. Russell, thank you. You can hear me. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, Craig. Thanks, everybody. Okay, Brian, we're back.
We're back.
Sounds like there was an API issue. So apologies to you and apologies to everybody who missed your opener. So let's take it from the top.
All right.
Brian, tell us a little bit about you and Kava Labs, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brian Kerr. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Kava Labs. We built Kava Labs to democratize finance and provide open and accessible financial services to anyone, anywhere in the world. We've built a suite of financial applications on the Kava platform. It's a foundational platform for DeFi services to live. Those services include collateralized loans, lending, high interest accounts for all the different digital assets that you can hold. And our goal as a company is to make these services easy and accessible wherever crypto users live, whether that be crypto.com, on other exchanges, on the applications like PayPal and Fidelity's in the future as more and more of the big guys start adopting crypto. And we kind of had built this singular API that provides access to all these services. So developers at all the crypto companies can easily integrate what we're building and extend high interest savings accounts and other valuable products like those to their users in just 1 or 2 clicks.
Awesome. Great. And tell us a little bit about your founding team. Again, please, if you don't mind. I know you guys are focused on financial services, but many of you have some interesting backgrounds.
Yeah, so we all come from different industries. We came together at kind of the start of 2017 as there was just so much interest going on in the space. I came at it from the gaming side, where I previously built one of the largest esports teams in Europe called Fnatic. But in gaming, digital assets are native. You have NFTs. Everything was just very obvious that digital currencies there are being used in so many different use cases. It was very easy for me to see how blockchain and cryptocurrencies were going to just slowly propagate throughout the world and be one of the most useful tools in finance over the next 10 years or even century. My co-founders, actually 2 of them come from a professional poker background, Scott Stewart and Kevin Davis. Both of those guys kind of suffered the issues of regulators cracking down on the online gaming industry, where a lot of the funds that they held at those online poker sites got seized and were held up for years. And at that time, the industry really started turning to alternative solutions like Bitcoin as a way to be censorship resistant and make sure that really never happened again. But the censorship resistant property of blockchain technology is definitely very true to their hearts, and it's a big reason why when they joined Kava Labs, that they just saw the impact and the value of this technology.
Yeah. Well, and I can see why the 3 of you are also very committed to the decentralization as well, understanding that origin story of how you guys got together. So the goal of DeFi and dApps in general is to create a new financial system that eliminates things like subjectivity and bias and inefficiency, and it relies on programmable terms. So does the Kava network support this vision, and how does it participate in the DeFi space more broadly?
Yeah, absolutely. The Kava platform that we've built is 100% open source, decentralized. Kava Labs, our company, actually, we build the software, but we run none of the nodes in the network. We actually don't have any control over the network. It's run by over 100 different businesses around the world that stand up Kava validators. But everything that happens on the blockchain is programmatic and it's in a protocol fashion. So whether you have $10 or you have $10 million, you're treated exactly the same. You have the same access to every financial service and opportunity that's there.
Cool. Okay. So one of the questions that came from the community is, I read in a Medium article published in March that Kava Labs completed acquisition of Crank Studio. What does it mean for the platform, and how will this impact your growing ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Crank Studio is a product and design shop that's based in Toronto. We've done a lot of work with them previously, but we acquired that team because we needed to accelerate the speed at which we could build out the front end applications for both the Kava platform. We're launching the hard money market, and we have a pretty aggressive roadmap to launch a new product and service every 4 months. So we just needed to build up our team. We're building up the back end engineering side really heavily. But Crank Studios, we did that acquisition to really accelerate how fast we could turn out the end user products that we're giving.
Okay. And so Kava is built on Cosmos instead of Ethereum, which is, an interesting adaptation from most DeFi. What are the advantages of Cosmos versus Ethereum?
Oh, that's a very big question, but maybe first to level set, I'll clarify that Ethereum is a layer 1 platform that allows anybody to deploy a smart contract onto it. The Cosmos SDK is a little different than the Cosmos blockchain. The Cosmos SDK is a framework for developers like us to build our own blockchain, our own layer 1, where we can custom design all the rules and basically design it in a purely optimized way for what our particular application is. And how we pulled all the levers that we had control over, like security, reliability, throughput, how it scales, we made sure everything was fully optimized only for DeFi. And if you compare what we've built to something like Ethereum, on Ethereum, you have this environment where anybody can fork code, deploy it really quickly. You have a lot of scams and rug pulls that happen. It's really hard to verify what's going on. And then for even the good protocols, whether it be Compound or Aave, you still have things like flash loan attacks and other attack vectors that's just really hard to address as you're building a financial application on that ecosystem. And then the third thing I'll just hint for Ethereum, but everybody knows this, is just it's not scaling well. Transaction fees are really high, and it actually defeats a lot of the purpose of DeFi, which is making financial services open and accessible to anyone. If you compare, doing a transaction fee of $80 on Ethereum, that's a person's whole day's wage in some countries. So it's just prohibitively expensive to use, and it's kind of just gone for it's now a platform for the uber wealthy, actually, as it stands now. By contrast, what we built at Kava is it's not an open platform for developers to just deploy any random code. Everything that gets deployed on Kava has to go first through several audits. It has to go through a governance proposal where all Kava holders review it. And this includes folks over at like the Binance tech team, Huobi's tech team, crypto.com, everyone kind of in the crypto ecosystem. Their tech teams review the code that gets deployed on Kava. They review the audits that are done on that code. And then it's then put onto a test net where it goes through further testing. We do internal testing at Kava Labs as well. And then only after it goes through that rigorous process does it get put up onto the mainnet of the blockchain. So how I like to equate it is Ethereum's kind of like the Android, Google Play ecosystem where anybody can just sort of launch an app easily. We're more like the Apple Store model. Any application that's on Kava is going to be thoroughly tested. You don't need to worry about rug pulls or who's operating it on the back end. It will be fully decentralized. It will be very robustly tested. There's still issues that can occur. I mean, all this is code, so that there obviously could be bugs. We've not had one in the history of Kava so far, and we've been, we're one of the largest and longest standing in production blockchain platforms doing DeFi to date. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. But at least the stance that we take is we're going to be the buttoned up, the reliable DeFi platform where if you're accessing an application or service on Kava, you can be quite sure that it's going to be reliable, it's going to be safe, and it's going to be secure, and you're in the best hands that at least you can find in our industry today.
Fantastic. That's great. So the security and user interface are pretty essential aspects that when users are engaging with the platform. How has your platform developed yours, and is it suitable for newbies?
Where DeFi is today is by and large, most people who are interacting with DeFi have to be fairly technical. They have to be comfortable testing their own private keys. And I would say that's only about 10% of the people who have crypto exposure. Most people are holding their assets on crypto.com, on exchanges, on other mobile apps. But if you ask them to transfer it, like if I was to ask my mother to transfer, she has some Bitcoin. If she's going to transfer her Bitcoin, she's going to see a long string of keys and just say, this is weird. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to fat finger it and send it to somewhere it shouldn't. So they just keep it on the platforms. And our view is that, well, we will provide an interface in terms of UX to our applications that we build in our financial services for the technical users who can connect their crypto wallets directly. We actually put the majority of our time working with our partners, where users, they have apps where crypto users live, to integrate our suite of financial services directly there. So no one has to worry about custody their keys. They don't need to worry about kind of vetting the protocols or the integrations and managing risk as they deploy capital on them. All they have to worry about is what asset do they want to deposit into an account, how much of it, and then they start earning interest in a few clicks. And that's really the goal, is like people shouldn't have to worry about what these DeFi things are. They should just know it's an interest account for BTC.
Yeah, well, I do think, I mean, all of the concepts that, we're testing and I think rapidly maturing in the DeFi space are exceptional, but not super easy to use today, right? I mean, it's not across the board particularly easy. So I think
they're confusing. They're just really confusing, and it's different per platform. It's going to be different for Kava to Ethereum to Binance Smart Chain to Polkadot. Whatever platform you're using, there's a whole different series of steps and processes that you have to know. And even if I was trying to review and due diligence myself, to review something on Polkadot, I need to know Rust. On a Cosmos SDK platform, you need to know Golang. On Ethereum, you need to start reading Solidity code. And for all of us who aren't developers, that's just a task we're not set up for. And that's why it's really up to these applications where users live today, whether it's crypto.com, Binance, or Coinbase. I think it's actually the centralized institutions, their job to review and integrate the reliable and trustworthy platforms and give them to their users.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, another question from the community. Cosmostation is nominated as a Chainlink node operator for Kava and the Cosmos ecosystem. What are the unique features of Cosmostation?
Cosmostation's a really interesting organization out of South Korea. They built one of the first Cosmos SDK compatible wallets. They run a validator on the Kava blockchain, so they're validating transactions and they provide infrastructure. But they're also a very large Chainlink Oracle provider. And a lot of the work there is still infrastructure level. But what that Oracle does is it provides timely and accurate price feeds for positions like debt positions where someone deposits BTC and withdraws a stablecoin loan on the Kava platform. We make sure that that loan is always backed 100% or more by their BTC deposit. And we use the price feeds that nodes like Cosmostation provide to make sure that that happens. And in the event that BTC crashes and we need to make sure that the loan stays collateralized, that BTC actually gets liquidated in an auction on the platform programmatically. So it's actually a very vital part of everything that we build. And there's a host of actually, I don't know how many there are to date, but there's similar to the validators where there's 100 different nodes providing validation of transactions. There's a number of Oracle providers who are also providing a number of different price feeds for all the assets that live on the Kava blockchain.
Okay, so a relevant question along those lines. Somebody's commented, I saw that Kava's USDX has been completely reserved as a cryptocurrency and it does not involve fiat at all. Can you tell us how you maintain the price of USDX?
So that is, it's one of the cool features of what we built with Kava. It really operates as a bank that doesn't need fiat on-ramps. People can deposit assets like Bitcoin or XRP or BNB. And what that can serve as is collateral, where then they can withdraw a loan based on that. And we just make sure that there's always more crypto collateral in value, dollar value, than the loans of USDX that have been issued. And in that way, we can ensure that all USDX that's been issued to users is over 100% backed at all times, so people can have surety. And it's managed, as I mentioned before, in a programmatic, algorithmic way. And it's actually, with the only comparable is really DAI. USDX and DAI are the only real decentralized cryptocurrencies that aren't, say, US dollar backed in a trust somewhere like USDC or with Tether.
Well, so as a follow-up question, somebody has also asked, what are the advantages of USDX against other stablecoins, such as BUSD or TUSD, Tether, etc.? Those are all fiat-pegged stablecoins. You mentioned DAI as an algorithmic backed or algorithmic generated. So go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just so eager to answer.
Tell me.
Yeah. So the big difference with USDC or Tether compared to USDX is that because USDX is completely managed by a decentralized platform, it's not at the whim of regulators or censorship like USDC or Tether might be, which has to be at a regulated financial institution. Paxos, stablecoins like BUSD and HUSD also fall in this bucket. You can have your funds locked in that, and they have to comply with regulators at all times. With a platform like Kava, where it provides decentralized financial infrastructure, where a regulator can't really point to one entity to say, hey, stop doing those transactions, stop issuing these stable coins. USDX is just a global currency that can be used, that's pegged to the US dollar, but it can be transacted anywhere, regardless of kind of what regulators or anyone really wants. And then the other thing that's really nice is because we built this USDX asset on the Kava platform, it can be sent without any transaction fee. The validators that run our network are already compensated in Kava tokens. So if you're a user who holds USDX, you don't need to manage any other asset to just do transactions on the network. You can hold USDX and only USDX, and you can send it to someone else without needing to hold any other asset. And by comparison with DAI, you'd have to hold ETH. You have to make sure you have enough ETH at all times to send it. Whereas on Kava, it's transactionless, and I think it's just a really nice feature. And also just to transact in 7 seconds or less on the Kava blockchain with finality. So it's kind of like at par with Visa and other POS systems.
Brilliant. Yeah, that is much more simplified. Not having to hold the two. That's a difficult concept to explain to somebody, especially that's new. Okay, so kind of in that realm of liquidity, let's move on to, I guess you previously mentioned that liquidity providers will be incentivized with a very high APY, but have you considered the effect of the inflation rate for Kava? Is the Kava use case balanced with this high APY?
Okay, so there's two things I'll break out there. There's the APY, or the inflation rate of Kava, the governance token of our platform, which is a variable rate right now between 10 and 20%. And that changes based on the dynamics of the market and where things are. It's quite high right now because Kava is going through a period of rapid growth. We launched the platform, the lending platform, in last June, and since the platform now manages over $1 billion in assets. So as it's growing kind of rapidly, an APY or inflation rate that's in the 10 to 20% range is still far under kind of its rate of growth. So in that way, I think it's a pretty responsible inflation rate. It provides adequate incentives for people to stand up infrastructure and participate on the network. But what I think the question might be hinting at is there's an APY that is offered by the different Kava financial services, like the hard money market for BTC. And that's a pretty high APY today. And a lot of people view it and say, like, how could it be, it's variable, but how could it be 25%? How could it be 40%? Those yields are unheard of. And the answer to that is really that this type of software removes all the middlemen, which normally connect borrowers and lenders and charge exorbitant fees in between because they can. And this software that we've built kind of pairs the borrowers and the lenders together and passes any interest the borrowers pay directly back to all the lenders without any need of middlemen. It's all done autonomously and programmatically. So the interest rates and the capital efficiencies that we have here are just tremendous. At a bank, you would need 50,000, 100,000 employees to do all the compliance and back office. So they have to charge those fees. But for us, it's software that's run and subsidized by 100 businesses collectively running this software around the world. And it, the benefit all goes back to the users.
Perfect. Okay. So speaking of those Kava investors, another question for the community. As an investor, I would like to know, how does Kava ensure that staking of Kava does not affect the liquidity of the asset negatively, since it involves locking Kava in a wallet over a period of time? High liquidity is very significant to the success of the project.
So, I don't actually have a good mental model for how to describe this. I would say Kava is one of the most liquid and highly traded coins globally. So despite us having more than, I think it's 70% of all Kava currently staked and locked up where it cannot be traded on exchange, we still have some of the deepest order books of any assets around the world. And I think that's because we've built up really strong user bases, both amongst users of our platform, which is now in the few hundred thousands. And then we also have a very strong trader base because we've worked with leading exchanges around the world to facilitate active trading, which creates deep order books. We also have very strong market making partners that address that as well. So I agree, liquidity is incredibly important. And if anything, I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, I'm a liquidity maximalist. But Kava, in terms of its liquidity, is very, very deep. People can sell $1 million, $10 million into the order books of Kava today, and the market doesn't move that much. So I would say we're doing a great job on that front. Staking hasn't affected it to date. I don't foresee staking affecting it going forward, but it is something we pay attention to. And if it did happen, we'd come up with a plan to address it.
Okay. Another question kind of along the same train of thought. How does BEP3 bridge allow users to lock coins and gain credit? How will users use BEP3 to use their coins on Binance chain? Sorry, there's a little.
So for people who don't know, BEP3 or BEP3 is a protocol that we use to transfer assets from Binance chain to the Kava blockchain, where they can then be used in our lending app, in our money markets, and other services. So it works like a hash time lock contract. It kind of puts an asset in escrow on one blockchain, mints a peg token or a representation of that asset on the destination blockchain, in this case Kava, where then it's given to the user and they can put it into the hard money market, start earning interest, or they can use as collateral in the lending app. But it's a pretty straightforward swapping mechanism between the different blockchain networks. And it's a custom bridge that we collaborated with Binance pretty early on to enable that. And it's currently supporting their BTCB, their Bitcoin that's custody, XRPB, the XRP that they custody and put on Binance chain, and BNB. So it's supporting those three assets. I would say in terms of the future development, there is a limited time horizon for how long we'll use that. It does have some centralized elements to it that I think we will be addressing going forward, and building more decentralized bridges that will be a bit more autonomous and censorship resistant going forward. But right now, it's kind of the industry standard for any cross-chain bridge. And we're actually the world's first to do that cross-chain bridge, bridging Binance chain with the Kava platform.
Awesome. Okay, so you've mentioned the hard money market a few times. I understand there's some new features coming in Hard V2 and Kava 5. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yeah, so Kava 5 was the big upgrade that we just launched. It improved the scaling and reliability and oracles and all sorts of other infrastructure level things on the Kava blockchain. But it also came along with the Hard V2 package. So we launched Hard, which is the world's first cross-chain money market for digital assets, in November of last year. And at that time, we turned on deposits for the lending pools. So suppliers of assets, people who had digital assets, could deposit assets into the pools. But it was just a getting ready phase. There wasn't actually any borrowers, or like the two-sided market wasn't built at that time. it was only in this hard V2 upgrade that came with the Kava 5 network upgrade that the borrowing side of the market and that side of the code base was deployed. And then all those suppliers who supplied assets in the pools could now have borrowers on the other side where they could borrow assets, they would pay interest, and that interest now goes back to the lenders. So that's just getting ramped up. It was just launched a few weeks ago, but millions of dollars are already being borrowed using hard V2. So we're hoping to scale that up and ramp it up and see how usage goes over time. And then in terms of the governance of hard, they'll be actively watching how those money markets progress and thinking about what new assets and new money markets to facilitate going forward.
Okay, so we had a question that was very simply, what is the AMM protocol? And so that is indeed hard. Is that correct?
No, so the hard is a money market. We have in our roadmap an AMM, which is an autonomous market maker. In Ethereum, you have platforms like Uniswap providing this. They take the place of DEXs. They follow an algorithmic curve, similar to money markets, but they instead provide liquidity between two different assets on behalf of users. We are accumulating, over $1 billion. I think it's about $1.5 billion right now, and growing rapidly in assets on Kava's platform today. But what users don't have the ability to do is easily swap between the BTC that's there and XRP or the Kava and hard tokens that are there. This AMM platform that we're launching, that we're in the midst of developing right now, will enable people to do that quickly. And I will just say this can, since it's live, the AMM is going to go by the name of Kava Swap. Pretty straightforward of what it is. It's 4 assets on Kava. It will swap between them. We're working on the official proposal to launch it that the governance group will vote on shortly. But yeah, Kava Swap we're very excited about because it'll create really nice synergies between the other 2 applications that we built prior. With the lending app, you get the creation of stablecoins. With the money market, you get a place to put those stablecoins and earn interest. And with the AMM, there's additional ways to put other digital assets to work, and it facilitates liquidity amongst that stablecoin and all the other assets as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so we've got a question from the development community. What makes Kava an interesting option for developers over other DeFi blockchains? And how will Kava avoid large stability fees that Maker currently has?
Okay, that's a 2-part question. So if you're a developer and you're looking to develop and do things in DeFi, well, I think if you're lazy, forking code on Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain is actually a pretty nice route if you want to deploy something quickly and test it. If you're really looking for end production where it can be integrated with financial institutions, Kava is really the platform for you. And if you're looking for a set of tools, we built things that took us over a year to develop, millions of dollars of investment to do things like the cross-chain bridge I mentioned, to provide custom oracles that can post prices much faster than Ethereum, so it's much more safe and secure. Everything on Kava is coded in Golang, so you can be very sure about the inputs and outputs. And because everything's built as a discrete module, you don't get this environment where all these smart contracts interact with each other randomly, and it's impossible to audit and test for all the different ways that they work together. On Kava, everything kind of is in its own little bucket, and you can be pretty sure of how the different interactions are going to go. So it just provides the most safe and robust environment that you can as a developer. And you get a lot of the tools for free because we've spent a lot of time developing it and doing that. And I think today, Kava is the only place that you can get assets like XRP and make them usable in DeFi applications. So there's a lot of unique assets that we have to offer that if you were to build kind of on a different ecosystem, you wouldn't have the same. So there's a lot of reasons. There's also a lot of headaches. You have to go through formal audits, and you have to go through the governance process. You have to do a robust test net and prove that the code that you've built is safe and reliable, because the standard that we've set with Kava, as I said, it's like an Apple Store model. The standard is very high. But once you're there, there's just like a lot of unique features, and we have hundreds of thousands of users waiting on the other side once it's deployed to mainnet.
Okay. And the stability fee?
And yep, the second part. So stability fees on Kava are different per asset, and they're managed based on market conditions. So there's actually stability committees. This is a subset of the governance group of Kava token holders that has been delegated the responsibility of managing stability fees over time. Today, they range between 0.5 and 5%, based on what asset. It depends a lot on the liquidity that's available for each. I don't think stability fees, at least today, are impacting usage, but really how you should think about it is a stability fee or a borrowing fee is the cost of capital and the cost of the system or the governance group for actively managing it. And it's paid back to the Kava token holders as a way to subsidize that effort, right, and make sure that things work as intended. Today, we actually don't pass any of those fees back to Kava token holders. It's actually accumulating in a pool that I would, colloquially call a Seifu fund. But we're accruing fees on the network because we do believe that regardless of how robust and safe we make our system, there's always kind of the unexpected black swan events. And we're building up this fund to make sure that even if that event did happen, there'd be capital to recapitalize and make everyone whole. And recover from such an event. So we're building that up right now, and that will continue to basically accrue all the fees that the system is currently charging. But then once it reaches an adequate level of total debt issued, I think then the governance group is going to make a decision to pass back those fees to the Kava token holders. But to answer the question directly, I don't think it's affecting usage today. We've been growing very rapidly. If growth slowed, I think we'll reconsider, but as it stands today, it's not a concern.
Brilliant. Okay. So another community question: what is the easiest way for someone to get into Kava Labs and use the DeFi services such as crypto lending?
Okay. I'll first clarify. Kava Labs, slightly different than the Kava platform. We'll call that Kava.io. Okay. To use Kava.io, you just need your own crypto wallet, or you need to have an account on a crypto app where it's been integrated. Whatever your technical expertise is, that kind of defines your path. If you're technical, you go with your crypto wallet. Otherwise, you find one of our integration partners. If you're on one of those platforms, it's a few simple clicks to deploy capital into it. It says, take my BTC, put in the Kava product, start earning interest. That's pretty easy. If you're a technical user, I would recommend using one of our tutorials or guides that we have online, because there's a lot of different scenarios and situations that I don't want to sort of speak out of turn or give the wrong advice here. And the product does change often, and we make sure that the user tutorials and guides get updated frequently. So I would just check out
where can someone find those user guides and tutorials?
Kava.io, our website. There's links to all of it there. In the applications, there's actually also hot links for guides. So as you're going through the steps, you'll have easy access to it. And if you really want to dig in, you can check out our blog on Medium. Okay,
cool. So looking at growth and expansion, are there plans to increase adoption and awareness amongst retail traders? So, when we started at the beginning, we kind of identified there's maybe 10% of the people in the crypto asset market that are kind of playing in the DeFi space. I don't mean playing, but, utilizing the services. And so, what are you guys doing to potentially help, grow that engagement level, as well as from professional asset management community?
Yeah, so that's the key question, because as I said, as the world is moving to digital currencies and it's becoming more native and common across the world, we have big institutions, whether it's Tesla and their treasuries, or PayPal and Fidelity, or Square, they're all coming in and enabling users to buy and sell crypto. But what they're missing out on, and while crypto is powerful, it allows anybody to store value, send payments anywhere in the world, and be censorship resistant, really manage their own finances, it removes the need for banks in many ways. But banks provide the critical services like credit, like mortgages and loans, like high interest accounts and money market products. So what we're building here at Kava is a portfolio of the same products, but now for these new digital assets. And what we're doing actively to help accelerate adoption with all those folks is to encapsulate everything that we build in a singular API. So the development teams at all the new crypto apps that are popping up and all the centralized institutions and financial institutions that are coming into crypto, they will just need to integrate one thing and they'll get Kava's full suite of financial products. And if you compare that to kind of the other work that they would have to do, if they're trying to integrate all the different applications on Ethereum, for example, they would have 100 different integrations to do. And that's why we're making sure that we make it super simple in a few lines of code. They can quickly take their BTC and deploy it in a wide range of financial apps and services on Kava.
Fabulous. Okay. So with the appearance of many blockchain projects, especially those featuring the newest technology, scalability, efficiency, low or no transaction fees, are you guys feeling pressure from, the competition? How is Kava positioned to win the race of global payment solutions, for example?
I think payments is not the race to win. It was a very big topic in 2017. Scalability and having cheap transactions, was the latest craze. Everyone was trying to have the most throughput, the most scalability. And if you really want to think about that as you're trying to choose a blockchain platform to win, you're effectively saying, let's minimize the margins to zero until it doesn't make sense to do that any further. Mm-hmm. So I think there's great solutions for payments, whether it's XRP or Solana and other new platforms, maybe even Lightning for Bitcoin scaling. But for us, our focus is really enabling this new class of investor that's holding a wide range of crypto assets. They have exposure to a bunch of crypto assets, and we're providing them more utility to do things with that capital. We're not focused on high-speed scaling and like Visa level transactions. We think there's other players that do that, fantastically well. That's not DeFi in my book. What DeFi really is about replacing the financial infrastructure that we have for assets like stocks, for commodities, for the trading community, giving access to additional capital for margin, to borrow, to short, long, and give all the financial products that we're used to in the traditional financial world, but now for this new asset class, crypto.
Cool. Okay. I think this might be our last question, actually. The Robo Advisor product on your roadmap sounds exciting. How different will it be from existing Robo Advisors, which mainly focused on stocks and EFTs?
Yeah, so I think from a user experience, it's quite similar in, like, if you take Wealthfront or some other model, a user selects what risk level they're comfortable with and what strategies they want to pursue. And then the Robo Advisor on the back end takes that information and deploys the right strategy and manages it algorithmically over time. With our Robo Advisor product, how it works is, you can imagine with our API, we have services like the loans, like borrowing, lending, high interest accounts. And there's a number of places, if you're a lender or a supplier of capital, you have some BTC, you could deploy it in the lending app and earn Kava tokens. You could deploy it in the money market and earn native BTC plus governance tokens there. You could deploy it in the AMM and earn returns there. And depending on market conditions, it's going to vary on what's going to be the best solution or what's going to provide the highest APY to you. The Robo Advisor basically asks you, like, what's your level of risk? What do you want to accept as your tolerance bounds? And once it has that information, it will just manage between all the different applications that are available, all the different earning opportunities, and do it for you over time. So it's a set it and forget it type of product.
That does sound good.
As we work with financial institutions around the world to integrate our products, it's also important to make, again, their work very simple. So if they integrate the Robo Advisor, it can route assets to just the best financial plumbing that's available and give the best returns back to their users. Then their users are happy, they're going to stay on their platforms, and then they're going to have more capital to use in other services there.
Brilliant. Okay, so what else is on the roadmap? You mentioned that you're kind of working in 4-month sprints. What else can we look forward to this year?
Oh man, I think we have our hands full with the AMM, which is our next big one, and then the Robo Advisor. We're also working on some other infrastructure level things like a decentralized bridge to Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain. But on top of that, I don't want to promise too much more. That's more than most people spend a few years developing one crypto app. We have 2 on our roadmap plus some more. I would say let's start there, and if we're able to surprise people beyond that, we'll do it as a surprise. I'm not going to tease it out more here.
Awesome. Okay. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today on both of our communities. It was a real pleasure to have you. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we come to a close?
The main thing is, if you have crypto assets and you're just holding them, you're leaving money on the table. So whether it's Kava or other DeFi applications, find the best place to put your assets to work and make your assets work for you. You can learn more about Kava at kava.io. You can follow us on Twitter or Telegram. And if you're interested in following me, my Twitter is Brian H. Kerr. And you can catch more news and updates from me there. Brilliant.
Yep. Brian's Twitter handle is on the screen. So go ahead and take a picture of that and follow him, or at Kava_Labs on Twitter. I'd like to thank you again, Brian, for joining us, and thanks to our audience, especially for being patient with us while we had a technical difficulty at the beginning. So if you stuck with us, it was great that you did, and we appreciate you doing so. If your question was asked during today's AMA, then you may have won a share of the Kava prize pool. If so, your prize will be deposited in your wallet in about 14 days. So have a look out for that. If you would like to, if you're watching us on YouTube, definitely subscribe to this channel and you'll get notified of future AMAs. And Brian, it was a real pleasure. I would love to have you come back maybe midway through the year and tell us how all of this stuff is going. It's going to be an exciting roadmap for you this year.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back. Really enjoyed the chat today and all the questions.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Thanks again for joining us. See you next.